If you're over 60, every bite you take, every food you trust, and every vegetable you think is heart healthy could be quietly pushing your heart closer to failure. Yes, even vegetables, and not just the fried or salty kind. I'm talking about the ones you've always believed were good for you. What if I told you that 9 everyday vegetables, often found in your fridge or on your plate, may be triggering blood pressure spikes, dangerous medication interactions, and even hidden infections, all without you knowing? As a heart doctor who's treated thousands of seniors, I've seen it happen far too often. Good people, eating what they believe is clean and nutritious, but slowly sabotaging their own heart health. Some of these vegetables interfere with life-saving medications, others disrupt your heart rhythm, and some are breeding grounds for bacteria your aging immune system can't fight off. Worst of all, the symptoms are often invisible until it's too late. In this video, I'm begging seniors to stop eating these vegetables, or at the very least, change how you prepare them. The good news? These dangers are avoidable if you know what to look for. Stay with me because the first vegetable on this list might already be on your plate today. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Spinach. When heart medicine becomes powerless. At first glance, spinach seems like the perfect food for a senior trying to stay healthy. It's green, natural, rich in vitamins, and for decades we've been told it's a superfood. And yes, for many people, spinach can be wonderful. But for seniors over 60, especially those on common heart medications, this leafy green can quietly become a silent saboteur. I've spent over 30 years caring for aging hearts, and I can't count the number of well-meaning patients who've come into my clinic confused and frightened. They did everything right. No fast food, regular walks, no smoking, but their hearts still struggled. One gentleman, a 72-year-old retired school principal named George, came in for what he thought was simple fatigue. He'd been eating clean, daily spinach smoothies, kale salads, even gave up red meat. But behind the scenes, his medication had stopped working effectively, and no one had warned him. George had been prescribed warfarin, a blood thinner used to prevent stroke after an episode of atrial fibrillation. But the problem? Spinach is loaded with vitamin K, a nutrient essential for blood clotting, and that's where the danger begins. Vitamin K directly interferes with warfarin, effectively reversing its blood thinning effects. That means your medication is no longer protecting you from a stroke or dangerous blood clots. It's like wearing a seatbelt that's quietly been cut loose. You don't notice until you crash. The risk isn't just in spinach smoothies. Large salads, green juices, cooked leafy dishes, when eaten inconsistently or in large amounts, they can cause dangerous fluctuations in vitamin K levels. What's worse is that most seniors feel fine while this is happening. There are no warning signs. Your blood feels normal, your pulse steady, but your heart is left vulnerable, your arteries unguarded. I've seen patients suffer from mini strokes, unexplained chest pain, or sudden blood clots in their legs, all while thinking they were following a heart-healthy diet. What they didn't realize is that consistency is key. With medications like warfarin, your body is extremely sensitive to changes in vitamin K. One day of heavy greens might undo weeks of balanced treatment. It's not that spinach is bad, it's that unpredictable intake destroys your heart's safety net. In George's case, we were lucky. His clot was caught early, and we adjusted his diet and medications. But not everyone gets a second chance. For some, the first symptom is a stroke, a fall caused by sudden dizziness, a blackout while climbing stairs. These moments arrive without mercy. and often without warning. That's why I'm begging seniors, especially those on blood thinners, to speak to your doctor before adding spinach or other leafy greens to your regular meals. Don't assume healthy equals safe. After age 60, your body doesn't respond the same way it did at 40. Foods you once relied on can quietly work against the very medications that are keeping you alive. And remember, it's not about fear, it's about knowledge. If you and your doctor decide to include greens in your diet, that's fine, but it must be consistent. Same portion, same frequency, so your medication can adjust accordingly. Inconsistency is the real danger here, not the spinach itself. I tell my patients this often: the line between medicine and poison is dose and timing. Even the most natural food can become a threat when it interferes with your body's fragile balance. So, if spinach, the poster child of health, can quietly turn your heart medication into a powerless placebo, what about the next vegetable? What if I told you there's a food in your fridge right now that contains more salt than a bag of potato chips, and you're eating it without realizing it's tightening a noose around your heart? If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number one below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number two. Two, pickled cucumbers, the salty trap that's tightening around your heart. They crunch, they're tangy, they taste like a nostalgic bite of summer. For many seniors, pickled cucumbers, those familiar briny green slices next to your sandwich, feel harmless. But let me be painfully honest, these pickles may be quietly strangling your heart. In my decades as a heart specialist for older adults, I've watched patients cut back on fried foods, give up red meat, even start walking every morning. Yet, their blood pressure remains stubbornly high. They feel frustrated, defeated. They're trying so hard. But when I ask what's on their lunch plate, they casually mention a few pickles. Just a few. Every day. For years. That's when I have to tell them what I'm about to tell you. Pickled cucumbers are sodium bombs in disguise. One small serving, just 2 to 3 slices, can contain over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. For reference, the American Heart Association recommends that older adults consume no more than 1,500 milliliters of sodium per day. That means just a handful of pickles could deliver 2/3 of your entire daily salt limit before you even take a bite of anything else. Salt doesn't just make food taste good. In the body, it pulls water into your bloodstream, increasing blood volume. That means your heart has to work harder to push that thicker, heavier blood through your arteries. Over time, this leads to chronic high blood pressure, arterial stiffness, and ultimately congestive heart failure. It's a slow and quiet war inside your chest. Let me tell you about Irene. She's 78, lives alone, takes pride in her independence, and makes her own meals every day. She came into my office confused. She had stopped eating fast food years ago, made homemade vegetable soup, avoided sugary snacks, but her blood pressure was dangerously high. Her heart was beginning to enlarge, working harder than it should have been for far too long. It wasn't until we went through her food journal that we spotted the silent villain, her daily pickle habit. She had been adding several pickled cucumber slices to her lunch every day for over a decade. They're just cucumbers, she said. They can't be hurting me. But the truth was far more serious. That simple addition to her otherwise healthy diet was flooding her system with hidden salt and destroying her heart's ability to relax, recover, and function. And here's the most frightening part: you won't feel the damage. High sodium doesn't come with symptoms, it doesn't cause pain. You don't wake up feeling salty. The harm shows up years later as a heart attack, a stroke, or a moment when your doctor says your heart is in failure. As we age, our kidneys become less efficient at filtering excess sodium. Our blood vessels become less elastic, more vulnerable to pressure. What might be tolerable at 40 becomes dangerous at 70. And for those with a family history of heart disease, the stakes are even higher. So please check your labels. Even foods marked low fat or healthy can be packed with salt. Canned vegetables, soups, deli meats, and yes, those innocent pickles are often the worst offenders. Salt hides where you least expect it. The good news is that you don't have to sacrifice flavor. I always encourage my patients to explore heart friendly herbs and seasonings like garlic, cooked, not raw, lemon zest, rosemary, basil, and black pepper. You'd be surprised how vibrant your meals can taste without a single grain of salt. And Irene, once we eliminated the daily pickles and switched to homemade refrigerator cucumbers with no added sodium, her blood pressure began to stabilize. Within 6 months, her heart had stopped enlarging. She still lives alone, still cooks for herself, but now she does it with knowledge, and that's the most powerful medicine of all. So if you've been thinking, it's just a little pickle, I'm begging you to think again. Because what you don't see, the sodium, the hidden strain, the long term wear, is what eventually steals your energy, your breath, and your independence. But if something as simple as a few pickles can tighten a trap around your heart, imagine what happens when you ignite that same heart with something far more aggressive. What if the very spice that brings back memories of your culture, your youth, and your family table is also the flame that's burning through your arteries? 3. Red chili peppers, the fiery ingredient that's fueling your heart's downfall. There's something deeply American and deeply human about spice. A little heat in a meal reminds us of family, of youth, of tradition. Whether it's chili in your stew, crushed red pepper on your pizza, or hot sauce drizzled on breakfast eggs, spicy food carries comfort, culture, and memory. But for older adults, especially those with even mild heart issues, that fire on your tongue could be burning your heart from the inside out. Red chili peppers aren't just about flavor. They stimulate your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system that prepares your body for danger. When you eat spicy foods, your body responds with a surge of adrenaline. Your heart beats faster, your blood vessels tighten, your blood pressure climbs. For a healthy younger person, that spike might pass with no problem. But after 60, that sudden stress can overwhelm an aging cardiovascular system. Your heart isn't the same muscle it was at 30 or 40. Over time, arteries become less elastic, your heart's rhythm becomes more sensitive, and your body's ability to regulate pressure drops. Add in a bit of salt from sauces, maybe a medication or two, and suddenly that harmless spicy dish becomes a ticking time bomb. Let me tell you about Dennis, a 74-year-old retired firefighter I saw in my clinic. Strong-willed, proud, and used to pain. He came in complaining of heart palpitations that started a few weeks back. "It hits me after dinner," he said. "Feels like my heart skips a beat, then races like I'm running a marathon." He wasn't drinking caffeine, he wasn't stressed. But as I reviewed his food journal, one thing stood out. He had been eating spicy chili almost every evening. I asked him to cut it out for 1 week, just one. The next time I saw him, he looked surprised. "Doc, the pounding stopped." What Dennis didn't realize is that the red chili peppers in his dinner were triggering surges in adrenaline, making his heart beat erratically. In someone with mild atrial sensitivity, this can spiral into dangerous arrhythmias. And in people with high blood pressure or clogged arteries, the elevated stress response can even lead to a heart attack. Here's what's truly terrifying. the damage often builds silently. A lifetime of spicy meals can contribute to low-grade inflammation in the blood vessels. That inflammation stiffens the arteries, makes plaque more likely to rupture, and adds extra strain to a heart that's already working harder just to get blood where it needs to go. And the risks are amplified if you're already on heart medications. Drugs like beta blockers or blood pressure meds aim to slow your heart and relax your vessels. But when you counter that with regular spikes from spicy foods, your body fights itself. It's a tug of war inside your chest, and your heart is the one fraying in the middle. You may be thinking, but I've eaten spicy food my whole life. That may be true. But just as your knees ache now when they didn't before, or you sleep less deeply than you did at 40, your heart too has changed. What your body could tolerate once, it may now resist. Spice doesn't feel like poison, but for many aging hearts, it quietly becomes just that. And we haven't even discussed what spice does to your digestive system. Many seniors deal with acid reflux or GERD, and spicy foods can worsen these conditions, leading to chest discomfort that mimics cardiac pain. Many of my patients end up in the ER thinking they're having a heart attack, only to find out it was food-induced reflux made worse by a heavy hand of chili. But sometimes it's not reflux. Sometimes it is the heart, and we don't always get the chance to tell the difference in time. Dennis now flavors his meals with garlic, cooked, lemon, herbs like thyme and basil, and he hasn't had another episode since. He still enjoys his food, but he does so with wisdom instead of nostalgia. That small change may have saved his life. So I urge you, if your heart feels tight after meals, if your chest flutters at night, if your blood pressure remains stubborn despite medication, look to the spice rack. The culprit might not be what you expect, but if red chili peppers, that small spark of flavor, can ignite such chaos inside your chest, imagine what happens when you consume something praised for heart health, but only when used correctly. What if that natural medicine is actually sharpening the knife against your heart's own defenses? Next, we need to talk about raw garlic and why swallowing it like a daily vitamin might be the most dangerous thing you do all week. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Raw garlic, when nature's medicine turns against your heart. For centuries, garlic has been praised as one of nature's most powerful healing gifts. It lowers cholesterol, fights inflammation, and supports blood flow. Across cultures and generations, it has been seen not only as food, but as a remedy, a natural medicine passed down in family traditions. But in my decades of caring for aging hearts, I've learned something that too many seniors find out too late. Even natural medicine can become dangerous when misused. Every week, I meet patients who proudly tell me, "Doc, I eat garlic every day, raw. I don't even need pills." They mean well. They want to avoid chemicals, avoid side effects. They believe they're doing everything right. And yet, behind that confidence, their hearts are often under silent attack. The truth is, raw garlic is a potent anticoagulant, meaning it thins the blood. In moderation and under supervision, this effect can be helpful. But for older adults, especially those already on medications like warfarin, aspirin, or clopidogrel, raw garlic can dangerously amplify blood thinning, pushing the body into a fragile state. Your blood can become too thin, to the point where it no longer clots properly. That means the smallest bump can cause deep bruising. A nosebleed might not stop. A tiny ulcer in the stomach can silently bleed for days. I had a patient, Iptakti Margaret, 81, who came into the ER confused and weak. She'd been feeling dizzy for a week but thought it was just age. She mentioned taking her usual meds, eating clean, and swallowing one raw garlic clove every morning. We ran her labs and discovered she had lost dangerous amounts of blood internally, likely from a small stomach bleed that had gone unnoticed. Her blood was so thin, even a minor vessel rupture became serious. What makes this terrifying is that she had no pain, no warning, just quiet, steady blood loss that almost destroyed her heart. Her blood pressure dropped. Her heart tried to compensate by working harder, faster. Eventually, it couldn't keep up, and the fatigue she felt was a cry for help. Garlic didn't hurt her intentionally, but unmonitored, excessive raw garlic worked against her, sabotaging both her medication and her body's ability to stay stable. But that's not the only risk. Raw garlic can also lower blood pressure abruptly, especially when combined with antihypertensive drugs. Many seniors take medications to manage high blood pressure. Add garlic on top of that without coordination or dosing, and the result may be dizziness, fainting, or even falls. A sudden drop in pressure can mean the brain doesn't get enough blood. That leads to confusion, fatigue, or in more extreme cases, a cardiac event from inadequate perfusion. And yet, it's such a common habit. Seniors think it's natural, so it's safe. But after 60, your body's margins narrow. The buffer you once had is gone. Your organs are more sensitive. Your heart is more vulnerable. And the line between healing and harm becomes razor thin. Let me be clear. Garlic is not the enemy. Cooked garlic, used in moderate amounts, can offer excellent health benefits. But swallowing raw garlic daily like a vitamin, especially while on prescription heart medications, is not safe. And more isn't better. More can be dangerous. Margaret recovered, thankfully. We stabilized her blood pressure, paused the garlic, adjusted her medications, and most importantly, we talked. She cried, not from fear, but from frustration. I thought I was helping myself, she said. No one ever told me it could hurt me. That conversation has stuck with me. Because there are thousands more like her doing their best, unknowingly putting their hearts in harm's way. So if you or someone you love is eating raw garlic every day, thinking it's protecting your heart, I urge you pause. Speak with your doctor. Get your blood levels checked. Healing doesn't come from habit, it comes from understanding. And remember, what once worked when you were 40 may no longer be suitable at 70. Your heart has changed, your body has changed. Your wisdom must grow with it. But garlic isn't the only healthy food that can harbor hidden threats. There's another sesame, fresh, green, crunchy, often tossed onto sandwiches and salads without a second thought. It looks like a symbol of clean eating. But for aging bodies, it could carry an invisible danger that attacks silently from the inside. Next, we need to talk about raw sprouts and why they might be the most dangerous ingredient hiding in your refrigerator. 5. Raw sprouts, the innocent crunch that could break a senior's heart. They look harmless, fresh, green, and full of life. Raw sprouts like alfalfa, bean, or mung are often praised as a superfood, added to salads and sandwiches as a symbol of clean, healthy living. To many older Americans striving to eat better, they represent purity, something straight from the earth, untouched and alive with nutrients. But behind that delicate crunch lies a silent and deeply dangerous risk for seniors. And I say this with urgency. That small handful of sprouts could lead to a health crisis that your heart may not survive. As a cardiologist who works almost exclusively with adults over 60, I've seen firsthand how these healthy foods can turn on the very people trying their best to make smarter choices. The problem isn't the sprouts themselves, it's what lurks invisibly inside them. Sprouts are grown in warm, humid environments, the exact conditions where dangerous bacteria like E. coli, Listeria, and Salmonella thrive. These pathogens may not pose a serious threat to a young, healthy person, but for seniors whose immune systems have naturally weakened over time, these bacteria can spark a full-blown internal war, and your heart, already working harder with age, may not have the strength to endure the aftermath. Let me tell you about Ruth, a 76-year-old widow and retired nurse who came into my clinic pale, dehydrated, and short of breath. She had always prided herself on eating clean, lots of raw greens, low sodium, no processed food, a model patient. But just days before her visit, she had eaten a homemade sprout salad at a local church luncheon. Within 48 hours, she was violently ill, fever, chills, severe diarrhea. We diagnosed her with listeria-induced sepsis, a life-threatening bloodstream infection. But here's where it becomes especially alarming. The infection didn't just attack her gut. It traveled into her bloodstream and reached her heart, triggering a rare but deadly condition called endocarditis, an infection of the inner lining of the heart chambers and valves. In Ruth's case, her heart valves became inflamed, her pulse irregular, and her blood pressure dangerously unstable. Her heart was fighting two battles at once: circulatory failure and infection. It came terrifyingly close to stopping. We managed to save Ruth with weeks of IV antibiotics and hospitalization, but she never fully regained the energy she once had. Her heart function declined. Her independence, something she valued more than anything, was slowly eroded by an invisible enemy, hiding in what she thought was a healthy snack. That's the heartbreaking part. She wasn't careless. She was trying to be healthy. Raw sprouts may seem clean and fresh, but for aging bodies, they're a high-risk gamble. According to the CDC, seniors, along with pregnant women and immunocompromised individuals, are among the most likely to suffer severe or fatal consequences from contaminated raw sprouts. And unlike other contaminated foods, sprouts are often eaten raw, meaning there's no cooking process to kill off the bacteria. Even if you wash them, it's not enough. The bacteria often live inside the sprout seed, not just on the surface. That makes them nearly impossible to sanitize safely at home. And because symptoms don't always start right away, the infection can spread before it's even detected, leading to dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, or in severe cases like Ruth's, direct damage to the heart. For seniors already taking medications for blood pressure, arrhythmia, or heart failure, this added stress on the body can push a fragile cardiovascular system over the edge. Your heart can't heal while it's battling infection. The energy it needs to maintain rhythm and circulation gets redirected to survival, and that shift can be deadly. So what's the safer path? If you love the crunch of sprouts, lightly steam or sauté them. Just a brief cooking time can destroy harmful bacteria while still giving you texture and flavor. Better yet, swap them out for thinly sliced cucumbers, cooked kale, or avocado slices, which provide similar freshness without the microbial risks. The lesson here isn't to fear every vegetable. It's to understand that your body changes with age. Foods that were once safe might now require new precautions. You are not weak for needing protection, you are wise for choosing it. Ruth now lives with her daughter, more cautious but still full of spirit. She still eats well, but she always asks where her food came from. She learned, painfully, that a heart can be destroyed not just by plaque or pressure, but by something as small as a sprout carrying a hidden invader. And if a food so small and so fresh can spark such chaos inside a senior's body, imagine what could happen with vegetables that seem harmless, until they clash silently with your prescription medications. Next, we need to talk about a vegetable that isn't dangerous on its own, but becomes a serious threat when paired with the very drugs meant to keep your heart beating. 6. When vegetables and medications collide, the silent interactions that can break your heart. For most of your life, vegetables were a safe bet. They were what your doctor encouraged, what your parents praised, what every health magazine called the foundation of a good diet. But what if I told you that after 60, certain vegetables can become dangerous, not because of what they are, but because of what they do when combined with your medications? This is the trap many older adults fall into. You work hard to eat clean, follow your prescriptions, stay active, and yet your heart doesn't feel stronger. Your blood pressure stays high. Your energy is slipping. You may feel confused, even betrayed, wondering why you're not getting better. In reality, you could be experiencing a food-drug interaction, a hidden conflict between what's on your plate and what's in your pill box. Let me explain. Many heart medications, especially blood thinners, beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, and diuretics, are designed to control delicate systems: blood pressure, heart rhythm, fluid balance, and clotting. But these drugs are highly sensitive to nutrients in your food. Some vegetables contain compounds that either block, enhance, or completely alter how those medications work. One of the most dangerous and least understood examples is grapefruit. While not technically a vegetable, it shares a similar health halo. Most seniors think it's a harmless breakfast choice, but grapefruit contains compounds that interfere with enzymes in your liver responsible for breaking down medications. The result? Your medication stays in your system too long or doesn't work at all. The effects can be subtle at first: dizziness, irregular heartbeat, muscle pain. But over time, the imbalance can lead to toxic buildup or complete loss of protection, silently placing your heart at risk. Now let's talk about cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and kale. These are often touted as superfoods, and they can be in moderation. But like spinach, they're high in vitamin K, which can counteract blood thinners such as warfarin. I once treated a patient named Harold, a 79-year-old Army veteran who was proudly eating 2 cups of steamed kale every night with dinner. He had also been prescribed warfarin following a mild stroke, but he didn't know that the sudden increase in vitamin K was reducing the effectiveness of his medication, thickening his blood just enough to allow small clots to form. Harold came in after experiencing numbness in his arm and slurred speech. Fortunately, it was a transient ischemic attack, a warning stroke. We caught it early. But the look on his face when I told him that kale, the vegetable he believed was saving his life, was actually silently destroying the medication meant to protect his heart, is one I won't forget. Then there are diuretics, water pills prescribed to reduce swelling and control blood pressure. These drugs flush out potassium, and if you aren't careful, you can become dangerously depleted. But here's where it gets complicated. Some vegetables like potatoes, beets, and avocados are high in potassium. If you're on a potassium-sparing diuretic and eat large portions of these foods without monitoring, you could end up with too much potassium, leading to irregular heartbeat or even cardiac arrest. On the other hand, if you're not getting enough, you risk weakness, palpitations, and fainting. It's a tightrope walk, and few seniors know they're on it. These interactions don't come with warning lights. They don't announce themselves with pain or fever. They build slowly over weeks and months until one day your heart can't take the strain. That's how these vegetables, meant to nourish you, end up destroying your heart from the inside out. The solution isn't to fear food, but to respect its power, especially in the context of age and medication. As your doctor, I don't want you to avoid vegetables altogether. I want you to communicate. Every time you make a major change to your diet, especially if you're introducing large amounts of greens, cruciferous vegetables, or potassium-rich foods, talk to your physician. A simple blood test can track your vitamin K or potassium levels and ensure your medication is still doing its job. And if you're taking heart medication, avoid grapefruit unless your doctor says otherwise. Read labels. Monitor how you feel after eating. Don't assume that natural means safe. Harold now eats kale twice a week, not every night. We've adjusted his dosage and monitor his clotting levels regularly. He's doing well, walking every morning again, and he's a powerful reminder that education can be the difference between a scare and a tragedy. But what if the threat to your heart wasn't from food medicine interaction? What if there's a vegetable that seems perfectly harmless, mild, soft, even bland, but quietly builds inflammation in your blood vessels over time? Next, we need to talk about eggplant and why this overlooked vegetable may be stirring up trouble deep inside your arteries. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now, let's keep going with point number 7. 7. Eggplant, the overlooked vegetable that may be stirring up inflammation in your heart. For many seniors, eggplant is comfort food. Whether it's baked in a casserole, grilled at a summer barbecue, or simmered in a stew, it feels soft, satisfying, and seemingly harmless. But beneath that smooth purple skin lies something that most older adults don't realize: a cocktail of compounds that, for aging hearts, may quietly ignite inflammation and stress inside your arteries. Eggplant belongs to the nightshade family, a group of vegetables that includes tomatoes, peppers, and potatoes. What makes nightshades different is their content of a chemical called solanine, a naturally occurring compound that protects plants from pests and disease. While solanine is harmless in small amounts for most healthy people, it can trigger problems in older adults, especially those with heart disease, high blood pressure, or autoimmune inflammation. I had a patient, Walter, a 75-year-old retired mechanic who lived a quiet life with his wife in rural Ohio. Walter was doing most things right. He walked every day, took his heart medications on time, and had recently made the switch to what he thought was a heart-healthy Mediterranean-style diet. Part of that change included eggplant, grilled, roasted, and even blended into dips. But within a month, Walter noticed changes: aching in his joints, fatigue, and strange tightness in his chest after meals. His blood pressure, which had been under control, started creeping up. He felt more sluggish and short of breath climbing stairs. When he came to see me, he didn't suspect food. He thought it was his medication or just getting older. But after reviewing his diet and running labs, it became clear the eggplant was triggering an inflammatory response, likely made worse by existing vascular stiffness and medication interactions. His body couldn't handle the solanine buildup the way it used to, and that slow-burning inflammation was quietly destroying the lining of his arteries, weakening the heart's ability to pump cleanly and efficiently. This isn't about an allergy. It's about chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind that builds over time without any obvious symptoms, until it becomes a crisis. Inflammation inside the blood vessels can cause plaques to rupture, blood to clot more easily, and blood pressure to remain elevated, even with medication. Over time, that strain contributes to congestive heart failure, arrhythmias, and increased risk of heart attack. And eggplant, while rich in fiber and antioxidants, can be a strong trigger if your body has become more sensitive with age, particularly when eaten frequently or in large portions. The issue isn't just the solanine itself. It's the combination of that compound with a weakened immune system, slower liver function, and pre-existing inflammation in older adults. It's a perfect storm, one that your heart quietly endures until it can't. Walter reduced his eggplant intake, and we switched him to more heart-friendly vegetables like cooked carrots, zucchini, and sweet potatoes. Within 3 weeks, his symptoms began to ease. His blood pressure stabilized again, and the heaviness in his chest disappeared. He still eats well, but now he knows what his body can handle and what it quietly resists. Many seniors I meet are shocked to learn that foods they've eaten their whole lives may no longer be safe. But the truth is, your digestive system changes after 60. Your metabolism slows. Your immune system doesn't react the same. And your heart, especially if it's been through years of hypertension, diabetes, or mild coronary disease, becomes far less forgiving. Eggplant won't hurt everyone, but if you have unexplained inflammation, joint pain, or fluctuations in heart symptoms, it's worth looking at your plate. If you're eating a lot of nightshades, especially eggplant, and you're not feeling like yourself, it's time to reassess. And don't make these changes alone. Always talk with your doctor, especially if you're managing chronic conditions or taking multiple prescriptions. A food sensitivity test or a guided elimination diet can help determine if your favorite vegetable is helping or harming your heart. Because at this stage of life, it's not just about avoiding junk food, it's about knowing which healthy foods your body can no longer process safely. The heart you've carried through decades of life deserves that kind of attention and respect. And remember, just because a food is plant-based doesn't mean it's right for your body. You've earned the right to ask more questions, to demand clarity, and to protect your heart with wisdom, not just tradition. But eggplant isn't the only seemingly gentle food hiding under the radar. There's another common vegetable, one that's praised for being low in calories, high in fiber, and great for digestion. Yet, in older adults, especially when eaten raw, it may do more harm than good. Next, we need to talk about raw cabbage and why that innocent coleslaw could be quietly disrupting your heart's rhythm. 8. Raw cabbage, the healthy crunch that may be quietly disrupting your heart's rhythm. Cabbage has long been hailed as a humble health food. Whether shredded in coleslaw, added raw to salads, or used as a base for wraps, it's praised for being low in calories, high in fiber, and packed with nutrients. And for younger, healthy individuals, that's often true. But if you're over 60, especially if you have high blood pressure, heart rhythm issues, or digestive sensitivity, raw cabbage may no longer be the friend you think it is. In fact, it might be one of the most overlooked triggers of discomfort, stress, and yes, even danger for your aging heart. One of the reasons cabbage is so problematic for seniors is that it's rich in insoluble fiber. That type of fiber is tough for an aging digestive system to break down. Unlike soluble fiber, which dissolves in water and helps lower cholesterol, insoluble fiber can create gas, bloating, and pressure, especially when consumed raw. For an older adult with slower digestion, reduced stomach acid, or a history of acid reflux, raw cabbage can sit heavily in the stomach and cause painful bloating that mimics heart-related symptoms like chest tightness or shortness of breath. But the issue goes deeper than digestive discomfort. That excess gas and internal pressure doesn't just make you feel full. It can place physical pressure on the diaphragm and surrounding organs, subtly interfering with heart rhythm and circulation. I've had more than one patient come in with what they thought were early signs of a heart attack, only for us to trace the episode back to a large raw cabbage salad eaten the night before. Let me tell you about Eileen, a 73-year-old retired teacher who came to my clinic last fall. She was healthy, sharp, and independent, but had recently started having strange flutters in her chest after dinner. Sometimes her heart felt like it skipped a beat, other times like it was racing. Her blood pressure was normal, her cholesterol was under control, and her EKG showed only mild atrial irregularities. But what caught my attention was this. She had started eating coleslaw every evening, not a small amount either. Eileen believed raw cabbage was helping her digestion and had been eating nearly 2 cups a day. What Eileen didn't realize was that the buildup of gas and fermentation from all that raw cabbage was irritating her vagus nerve, a major nerve that helps control heart rate. The pressure from her digestive tract was disrupting her heart's natural rhythm, causing palpitations and creating anxiety that only worsened the symptoms. She wasn't having a heart attack, but her body was reacting as though something was terribly wrong. And here's the scary part: these symptoms feel very real. Many seniors end up in emergency rooms, frightened and breathless, only to be told it's just gas or just indigestion. But what they're experiencing isn't just anything. For a heart that's aging, every irregular beat, every breathless moment is a serious event. And when the cause is something as simple and as fixable as diet, the damage feels all the more cruel. Raw cabbage can also interact negatively with thyroid function, especially in large quantities. It contains substances called goitrogens, which can interfere with the absorption of iodine, slowing metabolism and making it harder for the body to regulate temperature, energy, and weight. For seniors on thyroid medication, this can mean unpredictable shifts in blood pressure, fatigue, and even subtle cardiac stress. The good news: cooked cabbage is far easier on the system. A gentle steam or saute can break down the tough fibers, reduce gas production, and neutralize many of the compounds that cause trouble. Eileen made that simple switch from raw to lightly cooked, and within 2 weeks, her palpitations disappeared. Her confidence returned. And most importantly, she regained a sense of control over her body. She told me something I'll never forget. I thought I was doing everything right. I didn't know something so healthy could hurt me. And she's not alone. Many older adults are unknowingly sabotaging their heart by following advice that no longer applies to their age, medications, or medical history. It's time we talk openly and honestly about the truth. Your body after 60 is not the same as it was at 40. What once gave you energy may now steal it. What once felt clean and fresh may now feel heavy and harmful. The key is not to fear food, but to understand what your body can handle now. But cabbage isn't the only common vegetable that can quietly unsettle an aging heart. There's one more, often praised for its freshness and simplicity, yet it hides in almost every salad bowl and veggie tray. And for older adults, it may be the final straw that tips your heart out of balance. Next, we'll talk about raw onions and why their strong bite might be leaving a stronger mark on your cardiovascular health than you ever imagined. 9. Raw onions, the sharp bite that may be leaving a deeper scar on your heart. There's something nostalgic about raw onions. Maybe it's the crunch on a fresh burger at a summer cookout, the tang in a homemade potato salad, or that sharp kick in a garden fresh sandwich. For decades, many Americans, especially those over 60, have considered raw onions a staple of healthy eating. After all, they're low in calories, full of antioxidants, and they help flavor food without the need for salt or fat. But for older adults, this sharp vegetable might be doing more than making your eyes water. It might be quietly exhausting your heart. Onions, especially when eaten raw, are potent. They contain organosulfur compounds, the same ones that give them their smell, their bite, and their so-called natural medicinal qualities. These compounds can act as natural blood thinners, similar in effect to aspirin or warfarin. That might sound beneficial, and in some ways it is. But when you're already taking blood-thinning medications, adding raw onions regularly can become a risky equation. I remember Leonard, an 82-year-old Army veteran who came into my clinic complaining of unexplained bruising on his arms and legs. His blood pressure was fine, his medication list unchanged, he hadn't fallen, hadn't bumped into anything. When I asked about his diet, he proudly told me about the big salads he made every day. Raw onions, he said, a handful every time. Gotta keep the blood clean. But Leonard was on warfarin, and between that and the high sulfur compounds in raw onions, his blood was thinning beyond safe levels. A minor nosebleed could have turned into a medical emergency. A small cut might not clot. His heart, already aging and compensating for decreased circulation, was under extra pressure every day, silently struggling to keep up. Without knowing it, Leonard was putting himself at high risk for internal bleeding, dizziness, and even fainting spells. Raw onions can also be irritating to the digestive system, particularly in older adults with more sensitive stomachs. They often trigger acid reflux, gas, or bloating, which doesn't just make meals uncomfortable. For those with existing heart conditions, these digestive issues can mimic chest pain, raise blood pressure, and lead to dangerous confusion between a heartburn episode and a true cardiac event. Even more concerning is how raw onions can interact with heart medications. Onions are high in quercetin, a flavonoid that may alter how certain drugs are absorbed in the body. While research is still ongoing, we know that unpredictable drug absorption is especially risky in seniors, who often rely on tightly calibrated dosages to maintain heart rhythm, blood pressure, and circulation. The heart after 60 is not fragile, but it is less forgiving. It doesn't bounce back from stress the way it once did. Any inconsistency in blood thickness, blood pressure, or oxygen delivery can cause a cascade of effects. When we add raw onions to a system that's already finely tuned by medications, underlying conditions, and age-related changes, we increase the chance of imbalance, inflammation, and strain. The tragedy is that many seniors think they're helping themselves by eating raw onions. They've heard about the natural healing benefits. They're trying to avoid salt. They want to eat fresh. But without guidance, what starts as a healthy choice becomes a dangerous misstep. Leonard adjusted his salads. He switched to cooking his onions lightly, enough to reduce the harsh chemical load without sacrificing flavor. We retested his blood levels 2 weeks later. The bruising stopped. His energy improved. And best of all, his heart got a break from the daily strain it had been quietly enduring. This story, like the others we've explored, carries a difficult but empowering truth. Not every vegetable is safe for every senior. As you age, the rules of nutrition shift. What once made you strong may now require caution. And your body, after decades of faithful service, now asks you to listen more closely than ever before. So now, after walking through these 9 vegetables, from spinach to pickles, from garlic to eggplant, from sprouts to onions, you may be wondering, what can I eat? What vegetables are truly safe for my aging heart? That's the next step in your journey. It's not about fear. It's about knowledge. It's about taking control. Because here's what I believe with every fiber of my medical training and every conversation I've had with my patients. It's never too late to save your heart. It's never too late to learn what your body truly needs. And it's never too late to live smarter, stronger, and longer, one choice at a time. So don't miss what comes next. Because now that you know what to avoid, I'll show you the exact foods that nourish your heart, support your medications, and help you feel younger, lighter, and clearer in your body every single day. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.